Patrice Banks is opening up the male-dominated automotive industry for real, bringing a fresh perspective to, let's face it, the status quo. She's telling her story, and she is grinding that out to make some positive change. Patrice, are you hanging? Let's bring Patrice in.
Hello.
Patrice, thank you, girl. I'm always excited to talk to Patrice. How are you, Patrice?
I'm good. I'm always excited to talk to you, Frank. You have so much energy. You make me feel good.
It's craziness.
Ball of energy.
Susie Sockets is in here, and and I know you don't listen all the time to the show, but you are, if we had a Hall of Fame board up there, when we mention empowering the ladies, you're up on that list because you've been doing some incredible things, and true that, you 2016, Patrice, you were like episode number 6. Like,
wow.
Do you remember that? That's way back.
Honestly, I don't. I do remember talking to you, but I didn't know it was in 2016. I didn't realize it was that long ago.
It's crazy. So tell the people. Tell the people.
Flies. Wow.
It does fly. Tell the people, if they're not familiar with Ms. Banks.
Yeah.
Where are you from? What are you doing? And then what's the name of the shop? And if I can just tie that into what made you so crazy to leave a pretty well-established DuPont engineering gig to open up a grease pit, monkey grease. That's what people think we are, right? So tell us, where are you at? Give us some history.
Yeah. I'm in Philly, PA, where the shop is in Upper Darby, which is just right outside of Philly. Girls Auto Clinic Repair Center. That's the name of the shop. And interesting, you're like, where are you from? What's your story? Why did you leave your really good career? I was an engineer. I'd worked for DuPont. I was with them for 12 years. And I wasn't, into cars. A lot of people think, my dad was a mechanic or I grew up around cars. And we didn't. We actually grew up really poor. We didn't even have a car in my family until I was 16, and I bought my own car. I worked 3 jobs in high school. I got a license. I had my own insurance. My mom still didn't know how to drive. So to paint the picture, I was like a turn the key and go type of chick, right? I didn't even like putting gas in my car. Jersey, I'm close to Jersey and Philly, and they have full service pump over there. I would drive over to Jersey just so someone else would pump my gas.
You didn't want to mess with it.
Pay the toll coming back in.
You remind me, Patrice, going back. I didn't start driving. My mother never drove. We were hopping trains. I mean, in certain, in the cities, it's not mandatory. You can get by. So here you are. You got this new appliance on wheels, and you're driving across the Hudson.
So I'm this girl. I'm in my 20s. I've got a great job with DuPont. I'm making good money. I'm a leader. And I'm telling myself, I own a house, I have a car, I don't need a man. I was definitely one of those girls. I don't need a man. The new women's empowerment was wave was coming too in the 2000s. But when it came to my car, right, if a dashboard light would come on, if it wouldn't start, or if I got a flat tire, the first thing I would think of is, oh my God, I got to call a guy. I need a guy to help me. It wasn't really empowering, right?
Patrice, you didn't like that. You're very independent.
Man. Exactly. I didn't like that.
What made you? I got to ask you, Patrice, why because some of this is stemming from making decisions in your life that says go for it. What made you so independent? There had to have been somebody in your life that basically said, you got to carve out your own way and grind and hustle for it in your own way. Who was that individual in your life?
I don't know if I have an individual in my life. I had a lot of bad examples. I had a really troubled childhood, and my mom was an addict, and my dad wasn't around, and my sister was an addict. So I kind of really isolated myself young. I was an introvert. I loved to read. I enjoyed things like math. And I always just was a dreamer. I always envisioned myself as someone bigger than my community that I was in, I grew up in a really poor community, and I knew that there was something else out there bigger than me, bigger for me. I didn't know what it was. It turns out it's Girls Auto Clinic, right? One of my favorite quotes is from Steve Jobs, and he says, you can't connect the dots until you look back. And this is why I tell people I've been preparing my whole life for Girls Auto Clinic, including being the first one in my household to graduate from high school, go to college, to get a license, to buy a car, to start a business. Like, all of this is, first generation for me. And so I've always just been driven by being a dreamer and knowing that there was something else out there for me, and I was going to, capture my destiny. I would go for it. I'm definitely type A when it comes to believing in myself and knowing that anything I can do, I'm capable of doing.
That's rock solid.
I'm capable of doing.
We got a lot of young ladies listening, and we have folks that come from. I know I can speak from Susie. I speak for myself. We come from very, very. I mean, statistically, we shouldn't be on the routes we are. And there was something, and this is the message I want to resonate with the audience. A lot of our youngsters. There's something that you just say, I don't need to be that, and it's hard. You grew up inner city. I grew up inner city. And there were things that we saw. It's almost impossible to not get into some stuff. How did you, what was it, education? You said you read a lot. You really,
yeah.
How did you, because that's real. Like, that's influential in your community if you allow it where, oh yeah, everyone else is doing that. How come you're not? How did you, how did you avoid that?
So, it's kind of like this, fake it till you make it. And and this is what people mean by that is, I said I was an introvert. I liked to read, and it was me escaping the reality, right? I would go up to my room. I would just dive into music. I would dive into books or art or something that would take me away from where I was, and then dream of someday I'm going to be something. Someday I'm going to get out of here. I can't wait to get out of here and dream of that life. I can't wait to make that life I'm dreaming of, and so ultimately that's what saved me. A lot of my family was out in the streets because home was not safe. And so you either, right, you go out on the streets or you kind of isolate yourself inside and kind of create your own reality, which is kind of faking it till you make it, which it works, in many ways. And the stories you tell yourself in your head, I talk to young girls about this all the time, right? The stories you tell yourself in your head are important. The story of even telling myself I'm an auto airhead. I don't understand how to take care of my car, even as an engineer. I'm a very smart woman. There are very smart women who are like, I can't get my car. I need a man to help me. It's insane. But it's the story that we've told ourselves, right? And we accept it. So you're capable of changing that story at any time in your life.
That's so true. Mm-hmm. I mean, you kind of give me some goosebumps because I think about, I grew up in an era where, folks were shooting dope on the street and Nancy Reagan in the background, just say no. And as kids coming up, straight up. This was, Washington Heights, Harlem, USA in the 70s and 80s. And that was real. I used
to flush my mom's drugs down the toilet.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Well, let's go back to that.
Yeah.
So
I get it.
Yeah.
Say no. That's why I laughed when you said that, because it's like, I was a kid in the 80s. Like, I was hearing that message in the background and it
had us twisted. Yeah. We were confused.
Yeah,
we were. And the other one that had us confused. A lot of my look. I think the 80s is the best generation. Our audience knows that. I love all generations, but I'm stuck in that generation. I remember waiting for the Michael Jackson Thriller. Was that?
Oh yeah.
The whole neighborhood was in the house, in the apartment, and everybody get ready. Michael Jackson's Thriller is going to be announced. Get ready. But what I'm saying is, that's really tough because statistically, and we're going to get into some of your mentorship, because not only did you individually say, I'm a work it, but how do I uplift other people? And we're going to get there. But as a lot of youngsters growing up, Susie, it's very easy. Like, I got to feel good, go with what everyone else is doing. Let me roll with this, not knowing 6 months or even tomorrow that could cause a problem.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
Major, like life-changing.
Yep. And I've always said, don't let your past punish your future.
100%.
And so I think this is, you are definitely an inspiration.
Patrice, so you opened up Girls Auto Clinic.
Yeah.
an incredible success by way of
Thank you.
the internal culture and vibe, because that's a big deal. You knew that it's a business. Like we gotta stay productive. We gotta survive. We gotta keep the lights on. But right out of the gate, there was something that triggered you to say, you know what, I want to lead this as a she-canic off the mechanic, right? She-canic movement. And you said, I want some rock star women up in here working. Certified, not just, because they're, you have standards in your place. But tell us how that went for you in the beginning. Did you find a lot of resistance? Did you have women say, oh, this is impossible? What was your biggest challenge in sort of coming up with the whole she-canic movement?
There wasn't much of a challenge because women are so thirsty for it, right? There's nothing out there really, which is why I created Girls Auto Clinic. I mentioned I was an auto airhead. I didn't understand my car, and I started looking for a woman mechanic. I wanted to have better experiences with my vehicle when I took it into the shop, when I went to the dealership, or when something happened when I needed to take care of it. And so when I was looking for resources online, looking for a woman mechanic, I really came up empty. And what I found, though, was that women are the number one customer in the automotive industry by far, right?
Like $200 billion a year.
Yeah, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
crazy numbers, yeah.
And I just thought it was insane. I'm like, wait a second, we're the number one customer. I know I'm not the only woman that feels this way. And being the engineer brain that I am, I thought, okay, well, why is your number one customer so unhappy, right? Up to 87% feel mistreated or taken advantage of. And I was like, the root cause of that is because there aren't women working in this industry. And so I knew that in order for us to really, make an impact, or to just understand the industry, how it's going to change, how we're going to change the face of the industry, right? I did a TED Talk, how I plan on disrupting the industry in my red heels, was I was going to have to create a community of women, right, around the industry without the male influence, without the male gaze, and saying, this is what a car girl is. This is what it means to be a car girl. What do we like about cars, ladies? What gets us excited about it? And that's where kind of the she-canic community really starts and initiates. But it started with me educating women. Okay, first we have to learn about our cars. They're not something that's scary. We can figure it out. We don't need a guy to help us. We're capable of learning about our cars, of doing DIY on our cars, and I'm going to teach you how to do that. And as soon as I was learning about cars, I was teaching. And I was giving workshops, and women were thirsty for it. They come from all around the country just to come to our workshops. At our she-canic community on Facebook, we have women around the world that have joined, and that they're looking for knowledge. They're looking to connect with other women. They're tired of feeling like me, an auto airhead, and they're looking for community. And so it's just been kind of easy to just talk about it, and women are like, yes. Where is that? Where has that been my whole life? Why hasn't anybody done this before? Kind of a thing. And I just recognized the connection when I was doing research for myself, and, was just kind of smart enough to say, hey, this is bigger than just having a repair shop. This is about women. And I tell people, I'm not an automotive company. I'm here for women. I created a business for women, and I believe I'm solving a problem in the lives of women, but also in the automotive industry, because they're not paying attention to their number one customer. She's not engaged. She's not having great experiences, and we can change that.
Yeah, no doubt.
We should change it.
100%. And I think that there are actually quite a few ladies in our industry that are doing many great things. There's one thing that I find, whether it be small business or an individual who has an amazing brand, it's the brand reach. And if there's anybody in this industry that really has, you were on the cover of People magazine, Glamour magazine, interviewing with the CEO, Jim Farley of Ford. Yeah, you even got, because I love Terry Gross. Terry Gross gets me, when I listen to Terry Gross interview, you just relax, I need bottles of wine. She gets you in the mood. You have been all over. So the question I have for you, and I mean this because it's important, part of your gig is, how do I inspire others to do the same? Brand reach is real, and we all have something, but then we typically will fail with, wow, the world don't know about me. what advice would you give young women and minorities at that? Because we're going to get to that. In industries that are male dominated, we always hear, oh, we're going to break the ceiling and all this. A lot of it's cliche. And in fact, some of it's like from 8-track Dolly Parton days of my life. I heard my mother say that, growing up as a single mom household. But what advice would you have? Because that's like the tactic to a bigger strategy as a brand is the reach. Because you're talking CNBC, Yahoo, ESPN. You've been, like, I'm saying, Patrice, are you in the right industry? Like, you should be doing bigger. Like, I'm seeing you run. Is politics in the, because you're doing amazing things, but the world is knowing about it. How do you advise young women, minority women, how they can get that message out like you have?
So it's important, one, is to understand what your message is and being very clear about it. And I always tell people that you want to have like an elevator pitch, like a really quick kind of 30 here's what I want to do. Here's my belief. Here's my passion, right? And then also have kind of a longer version and perfecting that. One of the things that I was doing was these car care workshops, and I do them, Frank, every single month. I've been doing it since 2013 every single month for the last 11 years. Haven't missed a workshop except during COVID, right? And we do these workshops for free. And people are like, asking me, well, you're so natural on camera and you're so natural on, live TV. And I'm like, no, I was doing workshops every single month for 11 years and sometimes 2 people, but I was still on and I still was in my red heels and I was speaking my message and talking about it and perfecting it every single month, right? And getting it out there with just 2 people. And I would say, please share this. Know what you've learned, post it on social media, #RCCanic. And then the next month it'd be 3 people who show up. And then the next month it'd be 4 people. And then after 2 years, now it's starting to get to be 10, 15 people. And now it sells out in like less than 10 minutes, right? It fills up. People are waiting on the wait list for months. They go nuts just to get to a workshop. They come from across the country, Texas, Indianapolis, Toronto, New York, Atlanta. They fly, they drive just to come up, to one of our workshops. So it's about making sure that you have a clear, consistent message, a short one that's a 30-second one and then a longer one, and you're consistently perfecting it with that same message. The past 11 years, I've been doing it. And slowly your community builds. So then now where it builds itself where I don't really need, I just post a link, an email out to my following and say, sign up for the workshop, and it fills up in 10 minutes.
I got to ask you on that topic, because I think a lot of what you're saying, which is, you can't get any more basic than, be consistent and show up. Susie, we always talk about that. Do you think social media plays on people? And I'm actually going to get, because I got one teenage daughter, my older daughter. I grew up in a household of women. And I try to get that right, like my florist is my best friend, I know when to, but in all fairness, like my daughter who's 15 now, she's off social media, by the way, but psychologists told us, oh, that's going to be terrible. You can't do that. Well, we had some problems.
Don't take her off of social media?
She said, don't take her off.
Oh my.
And I don't know if you're listening, I don't know if you're familiar with what a Romeo pimp is. And moms and dads, I'm talking to you right now. That's real. And it's not like my kid was being preyed upon is what I'm saying. My teenage daughter on Instagram, and we cut it out. And it was not easy. But my point and my question, do you think that young ladies, because this is a phenomenon, they start out at about 11, 12 years old. They're really excited about engineering, science, technology. You throw arts in there now. Arts are involved, so it's STEAM, not STEM, right? STEAM. Yeah. Arts and math. A lot of young women, 11, 12 years old, they love it. But then they start to fade out. My question to you is, you said be consistent and show up. Do you think social media, because the lack of likes of what we're starting, is more broadcast and it plays games with our heads, especially the young ladies that feel like, I'm not getting the attention, while you said, oh, hell no, I'm doing this because I love it and I'm on a mission, and now you're on a roll. What's the sense of social media for younger ladies who are starting out where it's messy and it becomes this likable as opposed to really truly believing in themselves and continuing on the mantra, showing up.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about who you follow, right? And it's kind of about food that we eat, and you want to make sure you're eating good food, and you want to make sure that you are consuming good social media. So follow the people who have content you want to see that are inspiring, that are uplifting, right? If you're just following fashion and models and stuff all day, you might start developing a complex about how you look. But if you're following successful, smart women in STEM, right? That's going to inspire you to do more. There's women out there, right, that are doing stuff that's inspiring. It's inspiring for me. And it's not even just about, age limits. There's girls that inspire me that are 12 years old starting businesses. And I'm like, that's amazing. I need to start doing some more.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
12-year-old kicking my butt. So it's all about what you are consuming. And while I do think just in general, our cell phones, we need to limit time on there in general, not just on social media. But I do believe that it can be useful, especially if I think the future is really about building communities, which we're going to find online, but also create our own individual branding. Everyone's going to be able to brand themselves and, have their own channels to talk about who they are and show their lives and what they're capable of doing and their skill sets and everything like that. So I think it's going to be an important factor in the future for this younger generation, one that we're not going to be a part of. And so it's important that they understand the safeties around social media and the correct people to follow. So they see the content that they want that's good for them, that's good for their brains, that's going to help continue to inspire them and not make them feel bad about themselves.
Yeah, you mentioned following like the right people. I mean, I think some of it, in the evening, I raise my hand. Susie, I'm sure you do it. We all do it. Let's just face it. We get into that sort of, what do they call it? Death stroll or roll.
Oh.
We're just kind of going through our phone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's usually
Twitter.
Right. Twitter. Forget it. That's like crack city
X.
for me. I mean, I like Twitter. It's full of, but I don't want to get into that. It's a whole nother topic about how a lot of it's just fakery. But I mean, it's inflaming. But I want to get to the root of what's really important of what you said. And I don't think youngsters are doing well enough by this. And you tied it in. Your net worth is your net work.
Yep.
And I think when you started, because you went from DuPont into this, let's just face it, white, male-dominated, I didn't know anything about my car, but I think Patrice, I saw you and I watched you, but you were networking. And I think at the end of the day, that helped you keep moving, if I can say. Because there's nothing wrong with, like, as human beings, we want to know. I mean, you spoke to two people in a crowd. I've done those clinics where you had one person show up and you're going to deliver. Whether you're doing a TEDx, which you have been on stage doing a TEDx, or it's a clinic on a Sunday, Saturday, it's rainy, it's in Philly, it's in the winter. People may be a little grumpy. You're trying to warm them up with some coffee, but you're delivering, and that starts to roll. Talk to us about how important it is and the message for those that are just getting started out. They're frustrated because the beginning's messy. That network is critical.
Yeah. Absolutely. And the thing is I have met so many wonderful people from doing this and from networking, but it takes time. Like you said, it's not going to happen overnight. And that's one of the things that I think social media has kind of skewed a little bit for young people is they think it happens overnight and they don't realize this has been 11 years of, like you said, doing this work. And you have to be willing to put in that work and you have to fall in love. I know it sounds like corny and a lot of people don't want to hear it, but it's true. Like you kind of have to fall in love with the process. You're going to hate it at first. Like, oh, I don't want to do it. But, you have to get the energy to be inspired to say, you know what, no, there's people counting on me. There are people counting on me to see this, that need this, even if it's just one person. And one of the things I love, Oprah, she's like, as soon as you learn something, give it away, right? And so that was kind of me. It was as I was doing these workshops and I was learning, I wanted to teach. I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait to share it with women. So I'd get online and I'd write for them and talk with them and everything like that. And I when I first did this Girls Auto Clinic, before I had even the name or the idea, I told you I was searching online for a woman mechanic. You couldn't find one. You'd Google female mechanic, and it'd be like the 10 top stock images of women mechanics. And it's women in bikinis next to muscle cars, or like a stock image. And now there's a ton of women hashtagging Chicanic on Instagram and TikTok, and women mechanics and women, talking about cars and giving tips to other women. Like, it's incredible. Just 10 years ago, it wasn't there. And, we've kind of built that. And now you have the opportunity to have access, to these women and see what they're doing. And that's inspiring. Like I said, it's inspiring me. Like, we can do this,
Yeah, no, that's pretty powerful. I got to get to Susie. We've had a couple ladies in the garage, youngsters that we've sort of mentored.
Yeah, in our clinic.
Half have gone on, to do some things in the automotive, and then the other half. And my gig is like, as long as I can inspire, and it brings me to this question, Patrice. What's the biggest morale loser regarding job satisfaction for women in the service base? Because what I have done over the years, Patrice, is I've followed up with these gals. We're all friends, and there's still this I'll let it go ribbing that shouldn't be happening. What do you find women struggle with in the service base with, and what advice would you have for the rest that are in that? Well, I'm just going to say it. There's some shit culture going down.
Yeah. I personally believe it's a lack of community. And this is why I think we don't have retention with women in any male-dominated field. It's not just automotive that's struggling with this. Anything in STEM is struggling to retain women. And it's not, like you said, it's not about a lack of interest. We see that women are interested and they start to lose interest. And not just in the teenage years. Usually when they're still interested in college. When I went to Lehigh University, which used to be all male, in 1973 they added the first woman. In 1998, it was the first time it was 50% men, women in engineering. But if you look 10 years later, how many women from my graduating class are still in engineering, it's probably a significant drop. And statistics show that, and a lot of it is because women in male-dominated fields are usually the only one. They lack community. They don't have a lot of support, right? And when they try to speak up, they're usually just dismissed as you're crazy and you're talking about, because they are the only one. They don't usually have support. And that's difficult. That's a difficult environment to survive in and to thrive in. And so one of the things that I believe is going to really help women in these male-dominated spaces is having some type of community. And it would be lovely to have it at work, right? So ideally, you want to have more than just one girl there, right? Ideally, you'd like to have 3. And there's been studies that show that, like on women boards. Having one woman on the board is disastrous because everyone's going to just dismiss her. She's crazy. Having 2 on the board, they're going to say, okay, they're in cahoots together. We still don't believe them. But when you have 3 women on the board, that's when these ideas are starting to being taken seriously.
No, that's powerful. That's powerful what you just said.
Onto the shop floor. Yeah, and that translates all the way down to the shop floor, right? Because change happens from the top down. And so women are more likely to stay and be retained at these jobs if they feel like there's a community there, that they're not the only one, that they don't have to constantly look for help and feel like they're on guard all the time, that they want to feel valued. They want to feel good at their jobs. And that's really difficult to do in a culture where they're the only one. Even if the men are, cool around women, it's still lonely. And it's one of the reasons I created the Chicana community, because if you don't have that community at work, you can find it online. And you can come home and you can talk about your day and how difficult it was and what you should do and how you handle certain situations with a tech that another, employee that may be giving you a difficult time. Because a lot of times women don't even know who to talk to, and the person they're supposed to talk to, they're afraid that it's going to hurt their career or make them look a certain type of way. And so it's important to have an outlet and to have other people around you that are like, I know what you're going through. No, and mainly that's what it is. It's not even just solving their problem. It's I know what you're going through, and it sucks.
And I think that's something like, I don't know community for sure, but I don't know if this is a solvable thing, Susie, where as men, we're built like our brains are different. I go to a therapist. I see a therapist. I'm a marriage counselor. We got to work on our stuff. There's always stuff to work on. And a counselor says to me, as a man, you're up here. You're trying to 2 + 2 is 4.
Right. And
you're less in the center of your heart. So you want to solve problems way too fast. And that's not the point. It's this balance, and there's plenty of books on the topic. But I think we try, Susie, over the years, we try to. We had a gentleman, I won't mention his name. I want to bring this topic up. I think it's important. We hired him as a technician, fairly decent technician. We like to celebrate life, so we were thrown down at the local restaurant, having drinks and eating, and whatever. It was March. It's the third month of the year celebration dinner, whatever we decided. And this gentleman came out as a woman.
Mm-hmm. Showed up.
The celebration.
He came to our little get together. He had been on board maybe 2 weeks. Come to work as a man. Great guy. No inkling, clue, mascara, none of that. Not even shaving his legs until after he came. Beautiful.
Yeah.
I was like, who do we hire,
Yep.
Susie? I don't know who this person. Beautiful. And this individual was comfortable and opened up. So now in my mind, I'm thinking, Susie, the first thing we said, like, we know how people could, like, part of culture is like releasing tension. We joke around, but there has to be a certain, like, we can't go there because then that's personal. I was more worried, what are they going to say to this individual the next day? And the beautiful thing is, I think our culture was vibing because everybody was cool with it.
We were all cool with it.
We were cool with it. And then he started showing up, like, he shaved his legs, his arm. He started, then, he got comfortable.
Yes.
Yeah.
And all I cared about was human to human, let's rock it. And then under hood, let's do our best.
Yeah.
I
had a transgender tech work for me as well, and it was the same. And, we all sat down when she first came to work for us. She moved from Texas, actually, to work for us. And we tried her out for a week. We said, come up here for like a week and work with us, and we'll see how it goes, because I didn't want her to make such a drastic move. Right?
Oh, yeah, test drive. That's a big life change.
Yeah. So we all went out to dinner her last day here on that, like, test drive, and, talked to her about, understanding what's going to make her feel comfortable, pronouns, things like that, and that we're not going to be perfect, right? Sometimes we did say he, but as soon as we did, we would correct it and say, okay, sorry, she, and that kind of stuff. And it's just about, you're not going to be perfect in these situations, but listening to the other people, asking about, what makes them feel good, what motivates them, right? How can they show up to be their best selves? And it's really about just being open. And we're humans. We're all humans. We all have our own issues. We're all trying to make it through life, and be kind and listen to people's stories. You'll connect in ways that you would not imagine. And, so that's really important to me. Like, I want people to come to work happy. I want them to feel good about coming to work. And feeling good coming to work means that you can trust your coworkers and you can trust to, like, be yourself at work.
100%. If you're just joining us late, I want you to get more information. PatriceBanks.com. You can hashtag SheCanic, SheCanic, hashtag that, baby. We're talking female empowerment, STEM education. Industry disruption ain't no joke. You've been on, like, I'm like, what is she? Is she about ready to do a Tide commercial? This is like, how did you? She's on the cover of People magazine. I was like so excited for you, Patrice. I really was, because I remember the early days, and I know this. That look, it's just in life. There's and you listening right now, you know it. You can feel it in your gut. You want it bad, and you will not allow naysayers at all to get in your way. And people look at you funny. You got to be able to be comfortable with people looking at you funny. And you know what? Sing in your damn shower and enjoy your song is what I say, because that's disruption. And look, I think, Patrice, there is some sense. We have a few minutes remaining. There is a sense of, man, at the end of the day, I just got to love what I do. I'm not looking for the attention or the volume. I mean, it's, and you made that move. I mean, how many people, Susie, I don't know too many people going to leave a good gig at DuPont.
Right.
And people look.
They take a risk like that.
Philly peeps are looking at Patrice, well, you open up an automotive, the grease monkey, Blake, what are you doing? But you brought a lot of respect to the game. And not only that, empowering. What is your advice for, we hear this, it's almost like cliche, work-life balance. You hear that. But I see more, like I go to these industry trade shows Excuse me, don't talk to me about work-life balance when you're 200 pounds overweight. Your gut is heart bad. I think people talk it, but they don't walk it. What's your advice on that? Because that's real. Like, you got to survive what you're doing. You got to be strong that next day. How do you balance? What do you recommend there?
Yeah, well, I would first say I think work-life balance is different for someone who's an entrepreneur or a business owner versus someone who's works at like a 9 to 5. So if I'm speaking as someone who wants to be an entrepreneur or a business owner, it doesn't exist. Like, Girls Auto Clinic.
You're real.
It's my baby. Well, it's true. It's not always balanced. Maybe it's a balance, but it's not always balanced. It's never like 50-50, right? Like your business is like your baby, and it's with you all the time, right? Even when you're sleeping, because it's in your head, and the thoughts you wake up and you're thinking about it, right?
Isn't
You go
that
to
true?
sleep
That's
and
true.
You're thinking about it. You can't disconnect from it. And that's why you have to have this passion and love the process, because you will drive yourself insane. You have to be a little bit insane to kind of do these things. So what's important to recognize, though, is when I believe a lot of what being an entrepreneur and how we work is kind of like a sprint, and then you rest. And so you'll get into times where you're working really hard, and then you need to recognize when you need to rest and when you need to take care of yourself. And that's going to be really, really important, to take care of those signs and the things that you're doing for your self-care, like exercising every day, getting the proper amount of sunlight, going to bed, right? I'm always working on my sleep because it varies, 4 hours, 3 hours a night. A lot of times for weeks I'll go. And so it's important to recognize when you need to fall back and take a break and rest and get refreshed. And so that's kind of like the balance, is saying, okay, I am working hard right now, but let me listen to my body, let me listen to my mind, because what happens when I don't, I'm not any good. I go to work and I start snapping on people. They can tell it. They can see when, like, Patrice, go home. Go home, Patrice.
I think we're all normal. We're just normal human beings. And we as entrepreneurs, we have a tendency to take bigger slices of the cake, and sometimes it's a sugar high we didn't really want, But at the end of the day,
it's scary to leave your baby, right? They're like,
100%.
I don't want, I'm scared. And then I'm going home and I'm thinking about, is it going to be okay in these people's hands, right?
Yep.
And you have to kind of trust the people that you put in charge, right? And take the time that you need. And then I tell my staff, thank you for letting me take that time. I needed to refresh. I needed to take off. And sometimes I feel guilty. I'll be sitting at home not working while my staff's working, and I'm like, oh my God.
There's a mixed emotions, and it does take some discipline. Boy, we could wrap a whole nother 2 hours on understanding, like recognizing that your people you cherish, but what happens is the occasions and times of events that we maybe didn't plan that make people maybe a certain way that we weren't prepared for. And I personally like a lot of meditation. I definitely dig into some music. And lately, I've been doing the melatonin. I know it's not healthy.
Melatonin.
It's hard because, like, it's not good because it's summer. Like, I don't know. It's a bad excuse, Patrice. But I like to work out, and I'm being honest. This heat's killing me. This heat needs. I'm going to San Diego this weekend, Susan.
Good for you.
If you want to book Miss Patrice Banks, Patrice, I got to let the people know, because you are a gifted speaker. And I've got a lot of business folks listening. We'd love for you to visit Patrice. PatriceBanks.com. Keynote speaking. She's an author, an accomplished author. Their workshop. Boy, you're doing, like, I mean, what else? Are you going to do a cooking show? What else you got cooking, man?
I don't know. I get requests to do reality TV and all types of documentaries all the time. And, you kind of mentioned of, like, not wanting to be in the spotlight, because I'm trying to do the work, right? And people say, oh, you're such a good speaker and you're so great on TV, and they're trying to push me more towards this, like, market affiliation or influencer or content creator stuff, right? Because they can see me selling products to my audience and being on stage and talking and having my own show. And I'm like, but I'm a CEO. I want to build a company. Like, I'm building, right? Like, I had a goal here, which is to empower women and to create these businesses and stuff. So, this is kind of what I want to do. I do a lot of the speaking and stuff like this on the side just to continue with the message, and because I love you, Frank. I think you're
Well,
awesome.
we love you back,
call
girl.
me, you want to do something,
listen.
I'm like, let's do it.
You know what? And you rock. I just got to be full disclosure, everyone listening. Patrice is busy, and here's Frank.
Yeah.
Last night, I said, "Let me reach out to Patrice." Patrice is like, "I'm doing it. I'm there." And you know what? I love you for that. And I plan on headed over. My mom's up in Pennsylvania. I'm definitely, hopefully, the cards. You're in town. I definitely got to come see you and come hang and just live life.
Get your nails done.
I'm gonna get my nails done. My girl's always trying to bring me over to Lila get the nail situations, but Patrice, you're a rock star. Thank you for everything you do. And by the way, when you go public, you let Wrench Nation know because we want to buy some of that.
This is true.
Yeah. So, Patrice Banks.
You will definitely know. You will definitely know, Frank.
An honor to have Patrice Banks. If you're in the Philly area or anywhere in the country, really, Patrice Banks is doing some amazing things. Girls Auto Clinic. Patrice, thank you for hanging with Wrench Nation.
You're welcome. Thank you, Frank.
And that's what it's about. Like, a lot of you listening, you want to get to stuff fast.
That's
because
right.
Instagram, they did it in 6 months, or overnight, lose 200 pounds. Everything in life takes work. Don't let yourself fail because of time. I always said this, time it can be your enemy. If you choose, believe in yourself. Susie, this is what it's about.
It is what it's about. And when you were bringing up that mechanic that showed up,
yeah.
It's funny because he was a good mechanic.
He was.
And he is a good mechanic.
Good
but it
guy.
reminds me that you could put a dress on a mechanic and it's still a
100%.
mechanic, right?
What do we care,
He's
man?
still there.
A lot of you trying to get
love him.
all into your stuff, but man, people are people, humans are humans. Love on your neighbor,
That's
man.
right.
I mean, I'm serious about that because a lot of this stuff right now is on a macro level that's messing with your brain.
Yep.
But that's a whole nother topic.